Guys, welcome back to my review of Solo Leveling, and we're going to be doing episode 2 and 3 in this one. And sorry, so I'm a little behind, but I wanted to talk about this stuff. But before we get into it and me going over it, if you could please hit the like and subscribe button, it really goes a long way in helping out the channel. I'm trying to get up to that 1,000 subs, and so if you could help me out, I really appreciate it. But we finished episode 1, and I finished 2 and 3. So let's get into it, and we're going to review it. So, I'm going to have to be careful here, as always. But at the end of the last episode, so this is episode 2, the red gate had opened, everyone got trapped inside. This is a banger of an episode. Spoilers, obviously. But man, it was so good. So everyone's trapped inside. There are these guys who work for the organization. There's this dude. I was wrong last time. Last time I said this guy. See if I can get a better shot of him. This guy right here. I thought he was the older brother, but I'm pretty sure he's the younger brother of the guy who ended up dying in the last season. And so he is looking for Simulu to take revenge. And he's pissed. And he's getting all haughty out here and all prideful, and he's kind of messing with this dude who's another hunter. And I believe the guy, I forget his name, but the dude who looks like a thug, this guy right here, he's an S-rank hunter. I don't know. I think this guy's an S-rank hunter too, but I'm pretty sure this guy's more powerful. I want to say he may just be an A, but I'm not sure about that. In any case, they're about to fight, but someone intervenes, and here we go. Do they show it yet? They may not show it yet. Okay, so someone will intervene and stop the fight. But we're back in this world, this dungeon, which is this cool snowy kind of world. And you have Simulu and the others. And at the end of the last episode, we had this Joker right here who's an A rank, and he's like losing it. And he ran away from the snow elves who are killing everyone. And he shows up at these dead polar bears. Animation's great in this episode, by the way. Everything's great. Everything's superb. By the way, when I get to episode 3, it stays up quality. Because I was kind of wondering to myself, I thought, well, if they do the first 2 episodes in the movie, does that mean the animation quality is just going to be like a lot better? And then it's going to dip throughout the rest of the season? No, so far it's great. But anywho, so he's trying to figure out what happened. Like, who killed these polar bears? Did those E-rank hunters do it? So we're back outside of the gate, and you can tell this guy right here, he stops. He stops the 2 hunters from fighting. It was over nothing. I forget exactly what it was, but the guy was just spouting off some stuff, and things just got heated and all that stuff. So he's telling them, like, hey, there's no reason for you to be here. Your brother who died in the dungeon before, we interviewed, I keep wanting to say Simulu, the guy from Marvel, Sung Jinwoo. And, we didn't find any fault in him or anything. And so this guy's like, whatever. And he ends up leaving. So, back in the dungeon, he's pissed. Okay, so he shows up. He just saw his friends die. Remember in the last episode that he left with the stronger people, and he was like, hey, I'm just going to go. I'm just going to leave. And you guys can fend for yourselves, the weaker ones, the E ranks. And then I think one of the B ones, rank B, or maybe she's a rank A, she ended up going with them too. So all of his friends get killed. He runs away like a coward, and he stumbles on these weaker hunters here, and they're just vaxing and relaxing with like a campfire and stuff, and he's losing it. He's freaking out. He's like, what the hell? He's just all pissed. And so he looks like he's going to attack them, but that doesn't happen because Simulu. Oh, God. Why do I want to say that idiot's name? Sung Jinwoo. They all sound similar. By the way, is this like a Chinese thing? Because this is like manhwa, right? That's what it's called. It's different from manga. And everyone has three names. Like they all pronounce their three names. And I started to notice that whenever you're reading manga, they're so much better with names. Like I started, getting into this stuff, and it's like, man, why is everyone's name so complicated? It's not like that at all. In most of the time, it's not like that in manga. So the main villain, the main bad guy, shows up, and it's this dude, and he basically has this awesome throwdown with Sung Jinwoo, and the animation is great. The fight is good. He has an interesting conversation where he basically tells Sung Jinwoo, like, look, I know you're different. Like, we monsters, we can sense something in humans that makes us just want to kill them. But we don't really sense that in you. You're different. There's something about you. So here's the deal. We'll leave you alone and you just give us your human friends and we're good. And Sung Jinwoo's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so he tests out his army and they're like excited. And this is such a good fight. Like, it really is a good fight. And obviously I can't play too much of it because they're going to freak out and like hit me on it. But man, it's good. I can only imagine seeing this in the theater. And so they're going at it, and they're pretty equally matched. But Sung Jinwoo has an army. And so you have this guy still, this last hunter who, Sung Jinwoo. Have I been saying this wrong too? I've been saying Sung Jinwoo. Sung Jinwoo. Sung Jinwoo. You see, I'm so bad with these names. Jinwoo. I'm just going to say Jinwoo. Or Sung. Jinwoo. We'll say Jinwoo. So this guy's still pissed. Like, he's really bitter. And he wants to kill Jinwoo. Like, it looks like he's coming up behind him. So he's about to be pincered by both of these guys. And he doesn't work out. The hunter ends up dying. And Jinwoo resurrects him into this undead. Which is really cool because in the next episode, we see that these things start to gain more intelligence as Jinwoo levels up. And it's almost kind of like they become his pets. Like they kind of adopt this weird personality and they're like buddies. It's funny. It's slightly funny. But this guy shows up, so he starts to use him to fight off the elf dude here. And it's a great fight. Basically, to wrap this up, it ends in a climax. And for whatever reason, Jinwoo isn't able to... see, look at them. They're just hanging out. Jinwoo's not able to absorb the undead elf. Well, not the undead elf, but the snow elf. The snow elf gets knocked to the ground. He looks like he's dead, but I don't think he's dead. I think there's a scene where he actually gets back up. I could be wrong about that, but he was the boss, and he gets defeated. And what ends up happening is the gate ends up opening, and they end up coming out alive. At least, this handful that was left. And the gate closes, but I'm pretty sure that the snow elf is still alive. I don't know if he'll come back or not. To wrap this episode up, this guy kind of questions Jinwoo. He's like, hey man, we've got questions. What's going on? What happened in there? Don't be disrespectful. And Jinwoo's basically like, hey, these people would be dead without me. I'm pretty tired. You might want to just let me go home. You should thank me. And this is that other hunter guy who kind of looks like a tiger or whatever in his face. And he just kind of calms down and he's like, all right, please forgive my rudeness. He's like, okay, all right, I'm just going to let you go. And the episode pretty much ends after that. Remember, this whole thing was Jinwoo was taking this chick on this adventure to just kind of give her a taste of what it's to be like to be a hunter. And he was going to try to get it to persuade her to not do it because it's a lot more dangerous because she's just an E rank. And he knows what being an E rank is like. But then it turned into a red gate and everything hit the fan. But it all worked out and it's all good. So here's the dude. See, he's not able to absorb him for some reason. I forget why. But he's got all these other people. And I think that's it. So, that was episode 2, and it was really good. Now, we need to go to episode 3. And I was still thoroughly impressed. I was expecting everything to dip a bit, but it didn't dip at all. I thought it was all really good. Turn the sound off. We may have some... Hang on a second. All right. I was going to say we may have some technical difficulties, but we're good. So I forgot about this guy. Well, I didn't forget about him, but I was kind of wondering where he's at. If you remember from last season, Jinwoo teams up with this young guy, and he's basically like, you know, hey, I'm trying to be owner of my father's guild or whatever it is, the thingamajiggy, and Jinwoo doesn't want to be discovered. So they strike up this bargain where Jinwoo, you know, defeats all the dungeons, defeats all the monsters, gains the experience, but then stays in the background and gives this guy all the credit. Is this going to work? Yeah, here we go. And so he's pretty much like, he feels defeated because he's seeing Jinwoo basically using all of his undead summons to do all the work, kill the monsters, mine all this stuff, and this guy just feels completely useless. But they're still hanging out. They're still doing their thing. And in this episode, this guy's introduced. And he shows up in this dungeon. They think he's a monster. And so they capture him, the organization, the hunter organization. They capture him and take him hostage. And we don't know who he is yet, but he tells us at the end of the episode. And so he comes in, and you know what was really interesting about this episode is the dude speaks English, because I'm watching this in sub, and I normally watch dub, but this is so good, I was like, man, I just got to watch the sub when it comes out. And the dude speaks English, and he calls him Jesus. I was like, what? And then he says a few lines in English. It's not something I'm used to. But he came out. So we got the intros. Great episode. And Jinwoo's here. He's hanging out with this young guy. The guy who he's allowing to take the credit. It may not load. Come on. Work for me. Alright, hang on a second. Alright. So he's hanging out with this young guy. I forget this dude's name. But basically he tells him, the young guy tells Jinwoo, like, man, listen. Oh, here, he says it right here. I have a brother who's 10 years older than me. And he kind of lays his heart out there, and he's like, you know, me and my brother don't get along, and I see you as a brother. And, you know, I think he even asked him, he's like, can you be my brother? Or he says something similar to that. And Jinwoo is like, he pours him a drink, and he says, you're my brother now, which is cool. It was a nice little moment. I liked it. There's not a lot of chemistry between these two, but it's not bad. And I think the reason I say there's not a lot of chemistry is because Jinwoo, he comes across as just a very stoic person, which is drastically different than the way he used to be before he started leveling up. But he's just very stoic. So there is a nice connection here, but with him, it still feels somewhat surface level. Like, whenever he says something like that, like, hey, we're brothers now, it's like, you know, you kind of get this feeling of, do you really mean that? Does he really mean that? Or is he just saying that to encourage this guy? He feels distant all the time, like he's distant from relationships, distant from people. So when he says something like that to this younger guy, like, yeah, I'll be your brother, no problem. When he says it, it's just kind of like, I don't know if I fully believe him, if he really, you know, feels that way, you know? So you got this guy. He's locked up. He gets questioned by... Are they going to show it now? Man, my stupid internet sucks so much. So freaking much. Hang on. I tell you, don't ever get Spectrum Internet. Spectrum Internet sucks. It's the worst out of all of them. So, anywho, Jinwoo is telling his sister, like, I'm going to go on a trip. I'm going to be gone for a little bit. And, you know, she thinks he's got a girlfriend or something like that. But he leaves, and he goes on this trip. Man, goddamn, it's still loading. One of these days I'll be able to afford something a little bit better. I'm just going to have to talk through it. So he goes on this trip, and he goes back inside of this dungeon where he ends up facing off. It's like this massive dungeon where he has to fight against these basically demons. and it's where he fought Cerberus last time. But he's 2 or 3 levels even more powerful this time. So he goes through it, and throughout the whole episode, he gets to like, I think, level 75 and gets these ancient artifacts, and all of it's so that he can get this item called the Elixir of Life. And as he gets it, his whole goal and what he's trying to achieve is basically to use it to heal his mom. That's what he wants to do. That's why he started hunter work in the first place, was to heal his mom. You have a few other things going on in this episode. This chick right here, who... There's this brief scene about basically she's upset. There was this mission with the ants that we saw in the first season, and she's kind of remembering, like, man, they hid it from the public, and why did they do that? So I guess she's becoming a little disillusioned with the organization. But a lot of cool fights, especially towards the end, whenever Jinwoo fights off against this massive demon thing. This thing right here. It's really cool, because this thing is huge and massive. It's this big old demon, but it moves really, really fast. And so you can tell the animation looks great. The fight looked great. The sound is awesome. And, of course, he has all of his undead people kind of helping him out. So that was cool. The only other thing in this episode was towards the end, you have this other guy who was captured. Oh, Jinwoo beats him, of course. But then he has to leave. And so they bring in, this is kind of where the episode comes to an end. And they bring in this dude who's the super duper S rank hunter. I believe he's from America. And he's questioning this guy that he's sitting down with. And the kind of bombshell that drops is that this dude that he's sitting down with reveals that he has a son. And his son is Jinwoo. Sung Jinwoo. That's his son. So this is Jinwoo's dad, the main character's dad. Now, if you recall, like I said earlier, this guy wants to kill Jinwoo because he feels Jinwoo was the cause of his brother's death. So the moment he finds this out, they like give each other, like he finds this out and he's basically like, okay, I'm going to kill you now. Basically, like, this is a bad dude. He works for the organization and stuff, but he's clearly a really bad dude, just like his brother was. And all we see is they fight. You know, we kind of get this flashback with, or we switch back to Jinwoo in the dungeon, clearing this 75th floor of like 100 floors. And basically the reason he's not able to finish the 100th floor is because he runs out of food. So he runs out of food and he's like, I'm just going to have to come back. But I want to get to the point. So we get to this back in the city and there's all this devastation. So those 2 hunters that were sitting in that room fought. And what they say is that, I believe he says, in the blink of an eye, Mr. Hong, that's this dude's name, has been defeated. This dude, he's like an S rank. This is one of the top, most powerful hunters. And Jinwoo's dad was so strong that in the blink of an eye, it caused all this devastation, and it took this guy out. Like, completely took him out. So Jinwoo's dad is obviously very, very strong. We don't know. I don't know anything about him. We don't know anything about him yet. We don't know how this guy is going to retaliate. I doubt he's dead. But he already wanted Jinwoo dead. And now that he found out that Jinwoo's dad is there, and Jinwoo's dad just beat the living hell out of him, he's probably going to be really, really mad. So I'm really looking for that confrontation to see how it goes. And here's Jinwoo in the dungeon, looking at his rewards and stuff. And basically he's just like, I'm going to have to come back. He gets another key or something like that. He gets a few other things, just like the bonuses. And that's about it. He's trying to get this elixir of life. So, that's the episode. I thought it was a great episode. From coming off those first 2 episodes, which already had a lot of action, this one really does keep the pace very well. Like, it just keeps moving along. It keeps trucking along. I was a little disappointed. Not disappointed, but I was wondering at first, because as they're going into episode 3 and Jinwoo starts fighting through this dungeon, I'm just wondering, are they going to abbreviate all the fights and skip through them? They do it a little bit, but then they do show a lot of good animation and a lot of good fighting between Jinwoo and that big thing, that big guy, and then all the other fights are kind of abbreviated. So I think just because he's so powerful from this point going forward, all of the lesser enemies that he just one-shots kills, a lot of that's going to be done off screen, which kind of makes sense because it would end up being boring otherwise. But it was good. It shows how powerful he is because when he first came here, he wasn't even able to get past Cerberus. I think, did he kill Cerberus? He barely did if he managed to do it, but he was struggling a lot. So he gained even more power this time, and he's gotten even stronger. I'm curious to know if he's going to be able to resurrect any of these demons that he's defeated, these monsters in this dungeon, if any of them are going to come back, like the big boy. So that's going to be interesting. And then there's all this stuff going on with the Hunter Association. It's just kind of in the background and stuff. But the biggest bombshell drop of this episode was Jinwoo's dad. Because we don't know anything about Jinwoo's dad. We know about his mom is sick. He's staying with his sister. But his dad shows up. And his dad seems really powerful. So that's going to be interesting to see. And I'm really interested to know how it turns out. So I really like this episode. I'm really digging all this so far. It's a 2-in-1, a little bit longer video here, but I wanted to cover both. I loved both of these. I'm really loving this season. It's great. And I think that the first episode is already dubbed, so they're consistently dubbing it. So by the time this season wraps up, within just a couple weeks, it's all going to be fully dubbed. So, yeah, is there anything else? I'm curious also to know about the Elixir of Life. And Jinwoo's dad does say something about, he kind of gives this ominous warning to the hunter before this S-rank hunter finds out who he is. He gives this warning about, like, hey, there's something coming. There's a monster that's coming that's going to be unstoppable. And this S-rank hunter, excuse me, he's like, it doesn't matter, because we'll just assemble all the hunters together, and it'll be fine. And Jinwoo's dad is like, no, even if you assemble all of the hunters together, it's just not going to be enough. Like, you're not going to be able to stop this. And then the S-rank hunter, Hong or whatever his name is, Hongi Dongi, he finds out who he is, and then they fight. So, really interesting. I'm interested in the confrontation between Jinwoo and his dad, and what's that going to go about. And what this Elixir of Life, if he's really going to use it on his mom, and how that's going to go. And even towards the end of this dungeon, like the final boss, should be good. And we'll probably get to that pretty quickly in the next episode. So it should be fun. Everything's really good. This is like the new anime. This is the one. This is it. This is like the top one. This is awesome. So I'm loving every bit of it. But also, again, let me know your thoughts. Comment in the comment section below. It helps the algorithm. And please like and subscribe the video. It's free, goes a long way, and it really helps out a lot. And let me know what you think of this video. Did I miss anything? Did I get anything wrong? And what do you think is going to happen in the next video? So, that's going to be it for today. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching, and have a great freaking day.